And all the crew in these towns, so it's like have a rap party. And when we have to wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning, because we have to burn, because that will be the last scene of the film, Leslie is going to burn the set. And then we can prep, we can pack things and leave. But that night, because we drink a lot, and by 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from my line producer. You got to do something because Chris is totally drunk. So I went to Chris' room. It's a mess, and he's fully naked, lying in the bathtub. So I have to drag him up. No, he's totally drunk, and I have to drag him in the van, and because we have to drive 2 hours to the set. By the time we went there, it's already 4 something, and we have three cameras at the same time. No, 6, 3. We are not that expensive. We shot too many Hollywood films now. So we have 3 cameras, and Chris is supposed to handle the A camera, because that's the camera that will capture the close-up of Leslie. But he's too drunk. And Leslie just so worried, he said, what are we going to do? And then I keep talking to Chris. I said, are you okay? He said, I'm okay. So we decided to put him at the C camera, which is the one that is on a crane. And it's a wide shot, it's a backup shot, cutaway shot.
It's a metal crane.
But somehow the crane, and then we set fire, and then the set is burning, and he's on a crane, but somehow he don't know how to control the crane, and the crane is going to the fire. and then
It was a little bit hot.
and then after this shot, I have to bring him down, and by then, Chris is quite clear. He came to senses, and then he feels so guilty about it. I'm not sure is it guilty or something. He just take off all his clothes and get 2 bottles of waters and wet himself and bring the camera. I said, what are you going to do? What are you doing? He said, I got to take some shots because I know there's some shots that you want. And he just bring the camera and jump into the fire and to shoot whatever, which we don't use at the end. And I still keep pictures of Chris because I take a picture with him fully naked with the camera, but I keep it, but I don't keep it as a joke.
American cinematographer, November issue. What's for it?
Yeah, but I don't keep it as a joke because when I look at it today, I still feel very moved. This is about this man, and this is about. Yes, come on, I will refer to Brigitte later on. It's about this man, and also it's about the spirit that we have at that point. We make a lot of mistakes, but somehow we have the passions to make films. And I keep that photo with me all the time. I said, if someday people want me to say something about Chris Doyle, this is Chris Doyle.
我也要很谢谢 Chris 把我在这个戏里面把我拍得这么漂亮。
I also want to thank Chris for shooting me so beautifully in the film.
I'd like to ask one thing in closing, which is that you said... We've got another screening later tonight, too, for anyone who wants to come again. But you said a few minutes ago that this kind of film you think would be impossible to make today. But I am curious because the recent films of yours that we know, 2046, In the Mood for Love, My Blueberry Nights, Happy Together, these are all wonderful portraits of cities. Even if they're period movies, they have urban settings, and I think you've really become one of the great photographers of cities in the modern cinema, both of you. But do you ever entertain the idea of making another period film or another film with fantastical elements, or to take us into this kind of world again?
Yeah, of course. The thing is what I mentioned, because like today, I think for audience here, when they look at Ashes of Time today, it's much easier for them than 14 years ago because there's so many martial art films made after us with like the experience of like Crouching Tigers and Heroes, and I'm sure people have a better sense of the genre. But what I mentioned about it's impossible to make films like this today is just imagine this is our first film that we produce. We don't have any experience about producing films. And this is the first film that we shot in China. In 1992, shooting in China is not that popular. It's not that easy. And it not unlike today, it's like 70% of the Hong Kong cinemas film shot in China. But in 92, it is quite rare. And for me, the guy who's going to involve with the creative side and also as a producer, to arrange the trip of our cast from Hong Kong to China, to these deserts, is already work like a tourist agent. I begin to feel like I'm Leslie in the film because I get lost in these deserts and I lost the sense of time and I have to deal with all these things, but somehow we make it because. If today we make films, but we spend more times with lawyers, we steal times with banks, but in those days it's much simple and straightforward. And we have the spirit to make all these like mistakes and to make the film that we want. And one more thing I want to say about like Brigitte, it's because of the success of Swordsman 2, we have the chance to make Ashes of Time. So that's why I always said, without her, this film would not be possible. And at that point, she's shooting like, when we look at the filmography, we saw she made 5 films that year, which more or less the same period as us. So she has to fly back and forth from Hong Kong into this desert and coming back again. And what I see from Brigitte at that point, because everybody require her to play a guy in a martial art film. But somehow, for us, we always notice, like, as I said, she's the standard of Chinese beauty. And she has a very feminine side. So what I'm going to do at that point, I decide to make characters have two. It's basically a schizophrenic characters. I want to show her feminine side and also at the same time, because I feel like there's already a contradictions in his career, in her career and her personalities. So I want to capture that. But it is very hard for her, especially she has to, with our team like William, we spend hours on the makeup. And she has to like take all this plane, which is extremely dangerous at that point, because those planes, they have seats, but they also have places where passengers can only stand, you know. So and she just keep coming back and forth, and so that's why I really appreciate Brigitte for the work and also for joining us here tonight. Thank you.
Chris Doyle, Wong Kar-Wai, and Miss Brigitte Lin, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.